Hey folks, LA Little here, TA Today. You know, TA Today is a place where we practice trend and timing, right, using the neoclassical model, which is what you see me do on these charts. And it's September, and if there ever was a need for timing, September is the time. So what I want to do today is look at the market and look at it through the lens of the MAG7 Plus. What's plus? Well, it's throwing in a couple other tech stocks, big tech stocks that do have a movement on the markets. You can see what those are here. I've thrown them into a list, a watch list. So we're going to pop through these. Let's start with the MAG7 itself and see what that looks like. So if we look at it out here, right, I mean, this ETF hasn't been around all that long, but you know, it just made a new high on a monthly. Here we are on the weekly, and we can see that it dropped back. Let's pull in our retest regen here. You can see that it dropped back and tested into this retest regen once right there. And that's why these are green, right? They're telling you that, let's pull this down a little bit. They're telling you that the teal here is telling you that that has been tested one time. Okay, so what does it mean that it's tested one time? Well, it means that if you test it again, your odds are actually not in your favor any longer for this thing to hold. And that would mean it would go down to the next one, which is also teal, right? Which says that, well, that one's not necessarily going to hold either, which means it could actually drop even farther. So from just that viewpoint, right, these swing point highs, the retest regens, are pretty important. They're going to need to hold. Now, if we go over here, we're going to end up with, and let's throw it up here, we're going to end up with a retest regen. Well, it hasn't quite drawn yet, but it's going to end up being right here, right there, right, which is around 51.50, right at the bottom of that bar. So 52 actually. 52 is over where it's right at the bottom of these breaks. So if this were to break, it would break a swing point low. One of the things we know in neoclassical is if you break a swing point low, which is this bar, that one, that says that more than likely you're going to come back and retest regen. So in other words, once you get over something, you're going to more than likely come back within 2 bars and test it on that time frame. Well, it'd be the same thing if you break the downside, right? Within 2 bars, you come back and test it. It's a small bar. That means that you could get over it pretty easy, right? It's not the price width of that bar is not very big. And so if that's the case, then that's telling you that, you know, even if you break down, you're probably going to come back and test right away, and the odds of holding are not great because it's not a wide price spread bar. You know, it's like looks like about $1.50. Let's go to the daily. What's happening over here? Well, the daily has already shown us in this particular month, in August, right, that, you know, it's having a little bit of difficulty. Well, of course, then it did this V-shaped thing, another V-shaped thing, but this time what did it do? It didn't make a new high. No new highs here on this time frame. And so when you think about it from that perspective, it's like, okay, well, wait a minute. Everything else, you know, is making new highs. Well, not everything, but the S&P has made new highs. How come MAG7 is not confirming? Well, that's just a warning sign. It's telling us that you need to be a little bit careful. Is there anything here? Nothing really here. This just tells you that, you know, on this time frame, it needs to reset, which means it either needs to break a swing point low, this is on the daily, or break a swing point high. It's much closer to the high than the low as of close last Friday. I'm doing this before the market opens on 9/2/2025. But, you know, if these are young, you know, long term, you know, if I look past the daily and just look over here at the weekly, you know, this thing, the trend has been kind of sideways to just barely up now. So a retrace down into here that then takes off again, right, which continues this long-term trend, which is definitely bullish, right? Nothing but spike, drawdown, spike. That to me says, you know, more than likely you want to be on the long side of this thing over time. Let's look at the individual stocks. And I'm going to pop through these fairly fast because I don't want to have a long video here. Let me get this out of the way. And we'll check them one at a time. I haven't prepped for this, so we'll just do it live. Look at the cube. It looks like it's in fine shape. I look down here to see, what kind of confirmations we have on ABCD structures, and I can see that we have one confirmed at 261, which is not that much farther, just some new highs, and another one here at 238, which is very close. So Apple, what is it doing? Well, long-term trend's up. You can't argue with that, right? If you did a regression line through there, it looks fine, and it's coming right back to it. Right, matter of fact, right now. If we go to the weekly, let's throw a retest regens up so we can see them here. Okay, so weekly's doing a bearish retest regen. It's just trying to get over this bearish retest regen. It's very close. So first test, actually it's the second, more than one test, given the color. So that tells me that probably going to break it. And yeah, this looks strong. So yeah, can it come back and muddle around down here? Sure it can. But if you look at it overall, if it does come back, you want to buy it. Let's go to Amazon. Amazon over here, they're fine. A lot of noise on the monthly, but trend is extremely high. Not noise, but just a lot of support zones, I should say. Over here, if you come back, you want to buy it, right? Anytime you get a breakout, which was here, and you don't test more than 6 bars, that's an automatic buy. Unless something major is happening. That's bad for it. And if I look over here, just kind of noisy, right? Given earnings and everything, just very noisy. So I don't think Amazon's going anywhere anytime soon. It looks to me like it's just range bound. Let's go to expanded AVGO, and I added AVGO because AVGO, let me get this over a little bit. AVGO has been on a tear, Broadcom, and new highs there, extremely bullish. Again, if it comes back, you want to buy it, right? You've got untested breakouts. So that's extremely bullish. And if I go to daily, daily looks like it could come back. And actually, you've got something here that's interesting. You have congruent swing point lows, and then you've got a bunch of them lined up underneath. Okay, so when you break 2 of them, you'll probably have a lot of stops sitting in here, which means you'll kind of jerk to the downside. Will it get all the way back to a buy point? Probably not on the first move, but over time you might get that. And so given the fact that we're in September, you could get back to here. That's a stretch, but it's possible. So we'll have to see how it develops. This to me looks like it's trying to work its way to the downside. Short term. Google just made new highs over here this month. Or last month, I should say. It just wasn't 6 bars, so it didn't register as a breakout. It has broken out here. And yeah, so Google looks fine. And it's starting to get a little extended. We just saw it on Broadcom. I didn't point it out, but it was extremely extended there on the daily. Here it's bits extended. So yeah, a retest regen back into an area like this, yeah, it's very possible. So looks fine, but could come back a bit. Let's go to Meta, who has been on a crazy run since 2 years ago. It's already doing a retest regen on the weekly. Lots of retest regens here that all have been tested. So Meta looks to me like, I think the key thing to watch here is, can it hold this? Because if it can't, then you're going to get the deeper retrace sideways thing. Right now, it's too early to say that it's going to go sideways. But the fact that you had this huge gap up and now you're eating back into it tells me that more than likely this thing's going to pull back. At 94, you can see over here on your MTTF, this needs to break a swing point low, which would be right there. So yeah, I think a pullback here makes sense. Let's go to Microsoft. So essentially what I'm seeing all over the place here is on a short-term basis, these things do want to come back. So maybe September actually means something. Microsoft, long-term, you want to buy it on a retrace more than likely. It's not more than 6 bars there. Let's see if we have 6 here. Yeah, we have more than 6 here. So if it's able to get back into this area, you want to buy it. And you got a little bearish retest regen here, a bunch of swing point lows. They're not congruent, so nothing special here. Is this overextended anywhere? No, this looks fine. So, so far of all the ones I've looked at, this is the strongest in terms of do I want to trade it? Yeah, I'd be all over this guy on a retrace. Netflix, another expanded one, and I simply took the highest market caps to get this list, and Netflix falls in there, and I want to just tech. There's a number of financials, J.P. Morgan, Berkshire Hathaway, and so forth, but I just went for tech stocks on MAG. Netflix, this one looks like it's finally going to take a break. Let's see, sideways, yeah. So I'd be very surprised if this one doesn't pull back into this area, and if it does, I'd be a buyer. So into that 1,000, whatever the swing point is, 1064 down to about 1,000. So looks like it wants to come back more, and is a buy when it does. NVDA just had earnings, wasn't really able to get any juice off of those. Getting some volume coming out of this now that I'm looking at it the last 3 days. You got congruent, more or less congruent swing point lows here, which means a break will probably get you down to the next one. So that's about 165, which is still not back into these. So long-term, great. Short-term wanting to retrace, and probably can get some juice if it gets a break of these 2 swing point lows, which would throw you back into, yeah, I don't know if it'll bring you this far, but man, that is a nice buy right there. A break back into this area. 2 swing point highs. Yeah, they've both been tested, but just barely. So yeah, I would be very interested in it there. This is way stretched again on the short term, so a break here makes sense. And long term, of course, it's stretched too. But long term, when I first did my research 15 years ago, those things can stretch a lot longer than the other two. And I never understood why, but they can. ORCL, another one of the plus stocks. Okay, and here's another one where if you come back to here, you want to buy it. Okay, will it get back to there? It's not that far away, 10%, a normal correction. And look, that's also where you have the nice overlap volume at the bottom of a retest regen. That's about 202, which is almost in that area. So yeah, I'd be all over this in that spot. And is it extended? No, but it is bearish, young over here on this time frame. Haven't just broken down. Last one's Tesla. Everybody's favorite whipping boy. Either love it or leave it. Okay, so Tesla's had, Tesla's a hope for the future with Optimus and all that, because their car part is not doing so well. So you got a bearish retest regen. Well, first let me look over here at the ABCDs. Not ABCDs, but the MTTFs. Okay, nothing special there. Nothing activated here. Yeah, there's a long-term one way up there. So long-term, if I had to say, is this long-term and did a regression on this thing? Yeah, long-term, this thing regression is like right in there somewhere, right? So long-term, this, still looks fine. I don't see any issues with it. It's just waffling around, big moves up and down, which is normal for Tesla. Now, if I was if I still practice classical, I'd be looking at this as some sort of a wedge, flag, whatever you want to call it. But I don't do that. I'm more interested in levels, and what level I'd be interested in is this particular one right here. That's where your volume is. Your highs are just right above the swing point low. I'd be focused on that area. That's the area. Now, I don't get nearly as excited about this chart as I do the others, other than the fact that I personally like Tesla, both as a stock and as a company, but I can't get too excited about these charts right now. All right. So when I go back and look at it, are we going to get a September pullback? Actually, from the MAG's standpoint, yeah, it looks like we definitely can. Is it going to be something more serious? 20-30% pullback? I don't think so. It looks like maybe 5-10% at most, but enough to make you quote unquote worry about September. That's where I'm at. Have a great one. Take care. See you next time. And if you have comments, leave them. If you want me to look at particular things, let me know. I appreciate the feedback. Take care.